Thanks for staying on with us. This is Market Fatafat. Let's move right on then and focus in on Adani Ports. They've concluded the Myanmar port sale for $30 million. Now, it was just in May of 2022 that Adani Ports had announced the signing of the share purchase agreement for the sale of the Myanmar port. And the SPA had certain condition precedents, including the completion of the project and relevant approvals for the smooth conduct of business by the buyer. The company has obtained an independent valuation on as-is, where-is basis.
Okay, and let's then continue with other stocks that are buzzing in trade. And on the technicals, now we're joined by Ashish Kyal. Ashish, a very good afternoon to you. And, before we come to your first stock, let's just understand markets. Obviously, Nifty standing comfortably above that 18,100 mark. What is your view on the markets? Do you see this sustaining?
Hi, afternoon to you and all the viewers. If you look at Nifty over past many days, we have seen a sustainable rally, and that is because the participation is across the board, whether you look at Reliance Industries or you look at HDFC Bank or you look at any other stock from the mid-cap, small-cap space, everything is participating in this up move, which is a healthy sign. So I think the trend remains on the upside. The targets can be around 18,290 odd levels, which is near the gain level. And on the downside, the support is at 17,990 over the few days of time frame. And for today, I think there is a huge open interest build up around 18,100 and 18,200. So possible expiry can be around that 18,200 mark. But if that level is crossed today, then there can be further upside move towards 18,290 levels. So buy is the call for Nifty. Use dips to buy as long as on the downside 18,100 level is intact.
Right, buy call coming in on the Nifty as long as on the downside 18,100 level is intact. As you can see on your screen, Nifty 18,177 is the mark where it's scaling at currently. But let me ask about your first stock then, Ashish. HDFC Bank. This one is also on your buy list, just as the Nifty is right now.
Yes, absolutely, because the overall we can see a very strong rise in HDFC Bank, and this stock is about to touch its 52-week high, and also the volumes are good enough. So it's very important that the volumes are right along with the up moves, so that it is sustainable and there is no fake breakouts. So it looks like a sustainable one right now. Expecting a target in HDFC Bank around 1760 with a stop loss on the downside at 1680 levels.
Listen in, we did have Ravi Dharamshi, CIO at ValueQuest Investment Advisors, and he spoke about the financial sector, where he says it's the strongest sector in India, and he sees that a clear runway for this sector. Let's go across and listen into what more his views were coming in on the financial sector.
Out of the $40 billion outflow that happened, $20 billion went out of financial. Now you just juxtapose it with the fact that US regional banking is facing a severe crisis. The larger banks are being called upon to support the smaller banks. And of course, yesterday Fed made a statement that, that was an exception. It's not likely to happen. But what that tells you is that elsewhere, there are problems created by the lending sector. While in India, it is the strongest sector. In fact, nobody talks about an asset quality deterioration or any of those things. All we keep discussing is, will there be an impact on the NIMs? Is the growth going to be high enough or not? And in fact, I find financials as the only place in the market where there is a combination of growth as well as value. Most of the places have growth, then the valuations are not in your favor. Or if the valuations are in your favor, then there is no growth on the horizon. So financials is the only place which has growth plus value, and will be the first port of call for any foreign money that will be coming into India. And I think what will happen is maybe the second tier and the third tier run in the financials will also start benefiting from this. So now we are witnessing probably some change of guard. We already witnessed a change of guard in the large banks. Probably we are going to witness a change of guard in the large NBFCs as well. So some of the performing ones will probably get outpriced before they even come down.
All right, that's Ravi Dharamshi's views, but let's move right on then and discuss some of the other newsmakers. Mamakshi, what's the result been like for Sona BLW?
Well, Avan, when we look at the numbers, consolidated revenue saw an uptick of almost 35% on a year-on-year basis. EBITDA came in higher by almost 50% at 199 crores. Margins have also improved by 260 basis points on a year-on-year basis to 26.9%. The net profit is up almost 14% year-on-year. Now the company is witnessing the highest ever BEV revenue, which is up 37% on a year-on-year basis and accounts for 28% of the total sales. We're also seeing that the company is witnessing a margin expansion on back of a positive impact that has come in from operating leverage as well as the product mix. So we also have, apart from that, a note that came in from JP Morgan on Sona BLW. They've maintained an underweight call, however, with a target price of 400 per share. They believe the company reported an inline set of numbers. Growth expectations are likely in the price. The order book, however, has declined by 10% on a quarter-on-quarter basis. And apart from that, the commodity inflation also continues, which is the reason why JP Morgan has maintained its underweight rating. So positive result, but a not so positive brokerage review that has come in for Sona BLW, and that is the reason why the stock is in focus today.
Let's keep an eye out on that. Up 1.4% is what Sona BLW is. But talking about Bajaj Consumer then, they also reported their Q4 numbers. In terms of numbers, it was an overall beat in terms of the street estimates. Revenue saw a growth of around 14% on a year-on-year basis. Profits were up by around 5% as well. While in terms of the EBITDA margins, that saw an expansion of 80 basis points. Now, volume recovery was seen in the almond hair oil, which was driving the overall earnings growth as well. The ADHO segment saw broad-based growth powered by small and large packs, and improved media presence, sustained visibility on the e-commerce platform was something that supported the ADHO growth. Now, in terms of the con-call commentary that came in from the management also, they were quite optimistic in terms of the growth going forward as well. They expect the contribution coming in from the new product launches also start improving going forward. So very bullish commentary coming in there as well. The management also said that premiumization in ADHO that was gaining momentum and registering a strong growth for ADHO across channels as well. Rural demand seems to be improving gradually and sequentially, while urban is also continuing to grow as well. So keeping an eye out on that. All in all, a decent set of numbers, good set of numbers from Bajaj Consumers.
All right, next stock that will be focused is HAL, that is Hindustan Aeronautics. Earlier today, an Army ALH Dhruv helicopter actually crashed at Kishtwar at Jammu and Kashmir. The pilots suffered injuries but were safe. Further investigation is on to figure out what was the exact reason behind the technical fault that was faced during the flight. Is still unknown, and a court of inquiry has been ordered in the matter. So that's one of the reasons why HAL is in focus. There's been no information about the cause of the crash till now, is what the officials have said. Remember, HAL is the manufacturer of ALH Dhruv helicopter, and also few days ago only the clearance was received for the company to go ahead and start using these helicopters. So that's one of the reasons why HAL is in focus in today's trading session.
All right, let's move right on then. And autos in the spotlight. In particular, you've got Maruti. It's on CLSA's radar, so that's the next stock, number 23. They maintain a sell rating with a target price at 83.73, saying that Maruti has lost market share in petrol, and that's going to be a key concern. CLSA also believes that the hybrid models are gaining share from petrol, and that's not as much from diesel. They also say that diesel SUVs may shift to electric, where Maruti Suzuki does not have product right now, so that could be a bit of a concern. Flattish right now for Maruti at 87.87.
Okay, let's talk about the heavyweight Reliance. Then it's making to the list of most of the technical analysts. Ashish, you two are liking this one?
Yes, indeed, because Reliance has shown a very strong bounce back from the levels of around 2330, 2340, which is the volume profile area where a very heavy volumes have taken place. And we can clearly see post the results and all, there was consolidation around that area, which looks like an accumulation, and a breakout from there has happened. So the overall stock looks very, very positive, forming an inverted head and shoulder pattern as well. And that's why we can expect it to reach the target of 2,600 eventually. On the downside, the support for the stock is at 2,390.
Alright, moving on, Ramakshi, let's talk about Manappuram Finance. This one was getting hammered out of shape in yesterday's trading session on back of the reports that the ED was conducting searches at various locations. So what's the update on that particular front?
Well, Cheryl, this is an ET now news confirmed, and yesterday sources were telling us that ED was carrying out searches at multiple locations that were linked to the Manappuram Finance Limited group. Allegations were that they were illegally collecting over 100 crores from gullible customers without taking prior permission from the RBI. And yesterday, in fact, the company did announce it came out with an announcement wherein the management said that the ED is indeed conducting a search at their registered office. However, they also added that they were extending full cooperation to the department, including providing complete information sought by them. So yesterday, on the back of this news flow, we did see Manappuram decline in trade by almost 12%, and today the stock continues its downfall with a dip of almost over 1% as we speak.
All right, so there you have it. That's the view coming in. Let's move right on then, Ashish, and discuss the charts of Hero MotoCorp. Run us through what the trend looks like.
See, the overall trend for the stock is going to be positive. Over here, we can clearly see a very strong move has been seen over the past couple of weeks, but now we are seeing some consolidation happening. Once this stock manages to break back about that 2550 level, I think Hero MotoCorp can move toward 2650 on the upside, and the support for the stock is going to be at 2460.
Okay, also let's go across to Ashish and get her view on what is in terms of the numbers that we're expecting from Hero.
Well, yes, revenues are expected to see an uptick of about 2% on a sequential basis and about 11% on a year-on-year basis. Margins this quarter are expected to see an uptick. In fact, we are expecting margins to come in at 12.2% versus 11.5% margins that the company had reported in the third quarter, indicating an expansion of nearly 70 basis points on a quarter-on-quarter basis. Net realizations, meanwhile, are expected to see an uptick of about 3% on a year-on-year basis, but they could be flat sequentially. Remember, total volumes for the quarter gone by were up 2% on a quarter-on-quarter basis. Company had undertaken a couple of price hikes. In the month of January, company had undertaken price hikes to the tune of 1 to 1.5%, and that is the reason we are expecting an uptick in realizations this quarter. All in all, we are expecting good set of numbers. Margins are expected to expand this quarter. Revenues are expected to see an uptick. So keep an eye out on Hero MotoCorp, which will be reporting its numbers later today.
Ashish, what's your take coming in on Tata Elxsi? It hit that 10,000, and after that, we've never seen those levels come in on that particular counter. It's only been heading one way, and that's only downward trajectory. Seen some consolidation, but where is Tata Elxsi headed from here
on? Yes, indeed, 10,000 was the magical number from where the stock has never returned back and has corrected nearly, I think, 40% from those levels. But now we are seeing some green shoot. The bottoming pattern is forming. We can see a very clear accumulation happening around the zone of 6,000 to 6,400. Stock has broken out above on the upside. So looking positive as of now. I think the stock can again move towards the level of 7,800 on the upside, from where there was a gap down opening. And that's the target of 7,800 from medium-term perspective, not immediately. And on the downside, support for the stock is at 6,460 level.
Okay, let's move on, and then Sridhar Sivaraman, Investment Director at Anam Holdings, believes that the IT sector is getting disrupted slowly due to the increasing application of artificial intelligence and is underweight on the sector. But let's listen into what more he had to say.
My personal view is that the bigger problem for the IT sector is not what is happening with the banks in the US and what impact it will have. This is a very short-term impact. My bigger worry is what happens to generative AI. Because if you see that one of the easiest work that gets replaced by generative AI is actually coding. So Amazon just launched its generative AI specifically for coders called Code Whisper. So basically, if you're coding, from what I understood from experts is that if 10 people were doing coding work for a particular job, now one person can do that in half the time. So basically, one way of looking at it is that your productivity will go up. But the other way of looking at it is that if your revenue model is, billing based on man hours worked, then your revenue will fall substantially. Also, you will need to hire far lesser people than what you need. And if you look at the Indian IT space, almost 30 to 40% of the Indian IT space is people who have lesser than 1 to 3 year experience bracket. So basically, your pyramid is very bottom heavy. So these are the coders, and your attrition is very high here. You will need to hire far lesser people here. So I think this is a space that has to be watched very carefully. I think they're getting disrupted already in a small way, which is when I look at Infosys guidance or look at their number of people. There are 5,000 lesser people between Q3 and Q4. I would be very cautious at this market because the thing is moving very fast, and it has to be, maybe some of the smaller companies will benefit, but for a large company to move the entire business model is going to be tough.
Okay, let's move on and talk about SIS on its numbers. When you look at the consolidated revenue, seeing a growth of 13% on a year-on-year basis. Revenues at 2,996 crores. Operating performance also we are seeing in terms of EBITDA margin that has remained almost flattish on a year-on-year basis, while in terms of the EBITDA that has seen a growth of 8% as well. Profits of the company, slight bit of a decline there, down 5%. Let's keep an eye out on that one. But SIS today in focus on the back of its numbers.
Absolutely. Apart from SIS, you also have IOL Chemicals that is in focus in today's trading session, and one of the reasons being is the fact that European Directorate for Quality and Quality of Medicines and Healthcare has issued certificates of suitability for paracetamol, and on back of this sort of a certificate, the company will now be enabled to export paracetamol in European markets. So on back of that, you have IOL Chemicals as in focus. The stock is trading higher by about 0.8% as we speak.
All right, let's get a move on then and discuss another large cap name. And Ashish, what do the charts of Asian Paints look like? Fundamentals seem to be supportive with the crude oil price fall. Are technicals mirroring that?
Yes, indeed. If you look at the overall technical perspective, the stock has, after forming a low around 2750, there was nearly double bottom there and bounced back sharply on the upside. It's now breaking out the neckline on the upside, and we can see a lot of those stocks which were falling earlier, including like we saw in Tata Elxsi, Asian Paints, are showing that reversal sign after a long time. So that's a very strong positive sign for the broader market as well as the large cap names. And over here, Asian Paints can move towards the level of 3,150 on the upside. On the downside, the support for the stock is at 2,900 level.
That's the 7-day chart at 29.77. The stock has been gaining traction. Moving right on then, Anupam Rasayan is the next stock that we're focusing on. After coming out with its numbers, brokerages are reacting. Jefferies has actually downgraded the stock to an underperform rating from buy, though they've hiked the target price from an earlier 905 rupees to now 965 rupees. They believe that Q4 has been quite weak and the inventory day reduction has been less than guided. They expect a gradual ramp up in the fluorination LOIs and say that if after a sharp run up, it merits a downgrade.
Ashesha, SJVN then, why is this stock in focus? What's the news for you today?
Yes, this counter is in focus on the back of an order win. Yesterday, the company informed the exchanges that they've bagged 200 megawatt solar grid project. They've bagged this order from Gujarat Urja Vikas Nigam Limited. This will be done at a price of about 2.88 rupees per unit. Remember, the tentative total cost of this particular project stands at about 1,200 crores, and the project is expected to generate 505 million units in the first year of commissioning. So on the back of this order win that has come in, the stock is in focus today. Not reacting much. The stock, in fact, is declining, but a big trigger for this stock.
All right, moving on, Ashish, VA Tech Vabag, where is this one headed on the charts?
We can see it hitting the 52-week high almost there, and I think the stock is not having much of a hurdle on the upside. It is heading towards the level of around 450, and today we saw a very sharp rise of more than 5%. So use dips as a buying opportunity for better risk reward. On the downside, 390 should act as a very important support.
All right, let's move right on then. And at number 34, Shesha, discuss Havells.
Yes, Havells in fact reported its numbers yesterday during market hours, but we have a brokerage note that has come in. Revenues for the quarter gone by saw an uptick of about 10% on a year-on-year basis. Margins meanwhile contracted this quarter. They came in at 10.9% versus 11.5% margins that the company reported same time last year. Jefferies has come out with a note where they're maintaining their hold stance on the stock, but they've gone ahead and hiked their target price from 1,280 rupees per share. Now their target price stands at 1,380 rupees per share. They say softer consumer offtake, but industrial demand was healthy in the quarter gone by. Most positives appear to be priced in at the current price to earnings multiple, and that is the reason they are maintaining their buy stance, but they've hiked the target price to 1335 rupees per share. So on the back of this note that has come in, the stock is in focus today.
All right, let's take a look at what the aviation stocks are doing, in particular SpiceJet as well as Indigo. We all know that the Go Air case currently is being heard at the NCLT, where Go Air has definitely told the NCLT that they are seeing some sort of financial crunch, but they want to revive the airline. But let's talk about both of these counters and why they are in focus on back of the halt in Go First or Go Air's operations. You've seen the domestic daily departures come down by about 6% to about 2,763 versus 2,951. This is the last 1 month average. And also the domestic daily passenger also travel is down by about 3.5%. Is now at around 4.14 lakh versus 4.29 lakh. That is the last 1 month average. So on back of that, need to watch out for the aviation counters that are in focus, especially the ongoing case at the NCLT for Go First.
Speaking of aviation, my colleague Sumit Chaturvedi spoke with Ajay Singh, the chairman and managing director of SpiceJet, about the fallout that we've seen in Go Air. Let's hear out what he had to say.
Airfares will go up and down based on demand. It is time that we had rational airfares in this country. On average, the airfares in this country are still extremely low when you compare them with the United States and Europe. The average airfare between Delhi and Mumbai last year was around 4,000 rupees. Now, that is $50, which is not even 1/4 of the average airfare in the US. At the same time, costs in India tend to be quite high, as you know. The cost of fuel is pretty high, and the cost of several ancillary services is high. So I think the country needs a strong aviation sector, and hopefully as fares become more rational, as costs reduce, and the government of course has worked very hard on trying to reduce.
Okay, let's move on. And Ashish, Sugar, how are you looking at this one on the charts? It's already seen a very good run up in the last 6 months, last 1 year. What are the expectations?
We can clearly see the sugar sector has been doing good. Ugar Sugar has managed to bounce back from that 105 levels and now putting around 112 and above that. So looking at the chart, it is positive. We can expect it to touch 120 levels over short term. On the downside, the support for the stock is around 107.
All right, let's move on. And before we move on, let's take a note of the flash on the bottom of the screen. You have HDFC that has just come up with the number. The initial numbers that we are picking up of buyer agencies is that the PAT is coming at around 4,430 crore rupees. We had a poll of PAT of around 3,807 crore rupees. These are the initial numbers coming in for HDFC, and post those numbers, you can see a sharp spike that is coming on the counter, trading higher by about 1.8%. That's HDFC Limited for you. For now, we've got the PAT number, and if you look at the PAT on the surface, it is higher than ET now estimates, because our estimate was 3,807 crore rupees. The PAT is coming at around 4,430 crore rupees. Better than expected PAT number coming in for HDFC. They've also approved dividend of around 44 rupees per share. So you can see the stock trading higher, 2.3% as we speak, waiting for some more numbers to trickle in for HDFC. The provisions have come in at around 438 crore rupees versus 360 crore rupees. So yes, that's on a year-on-year, or rather what we had expected was 360 crore rupees. So the provisions are a tad bit higher than what we had expected.
Yeah, NII, so this time around has come in at about... okay, we're just waiting by for that number, but yeah, that PAT number at about 44.25, provisions at 438 crores versus 360 crores on a Q1Q basis, and the street clearly seems to be taking cognizance. In fact, Ashish, let's get in your take on the charts then of an HDFC. Right now, you're seeing that reaction coming into the numbers. It's been a stable quarter, it seems, on all counts at 28.50. What's the take?
See, the charts are showing very strong breakout. The stock was struggling around the level of 2780, 2790 quite some time, and today, right now, it is at 2850. So we are, if it closes about that 2840 levels, I think it is headed much higher from here on. The targets on the upside will come around 3000 levels over short term. The overall outlook is positive. On the downside, the support for the stock is at 2750. So use any dips as a buying opportunity for the target of 3000 levels.
Okay, that's a take coming in from Ashish on HDFC as well. Let's keep an eye out on this one. As of now, the stock is up and away in trade, up 2.26%. But Adani Ports have concluded the Myanmar port sale for $30 million in May 2022. Adani Ports announced this signing of the share purchase agreement for its sale of its Myanmar port, and the SPA had certain conditions precedent, including the completion of the project and relevant approvals for the smooth conduct of the business by the buyer. The company obtained an independent valuation on as is where is basis as well. So let's keep an eye out on Adani Ports as well.
All right, so that is what Adani Ports has informed today, the exchanges. But yes, HDFC numbers on your screen. We are waiting for some more numbers to come in on that particular counter. The stock trading higher by about 2.3%. But with that, we are totally out of time on this edition of Market Fatafat. Goodbye from Avan, Vinny and myself and the team that put the show together. Stay tuned. Closing figures coming up next.